So let's talk about auditions. How should you organise an audition? Say you've managed to contact a bunch of actors and you got them to come for a reading.
Right.
I mean, you know, is it just me and a camera, or do I? How should I organise it?
Are you talking about preferably for obviously new filmmakers, I suppose?
Yeah,
or?
I guess somebody who's never run an audition, how would they run it for the first time? Because I know the first time I did it, I kind of just turned up and then I realised that here I am auditioning somebody and the other person's turned up and the person who's, you know, turned up next has turned up and somebody's late and there's a whole crowd of people over there and now they're watching this and that's a bit odd. So how you know, how should you deal with that?
Okay, that's very sensible. So you obviously need to figure your schedule out and truly sit down and think, do I need 10 minutes with these people to start off with? Bear in mind you'll probably have recalls depending on the project. So, you know, 10 minutes actually is a good time to frame, you know, if you want to expedite things, maybe get them to come in with a prepared piece. Make sure you have a proper holding area or a waiting area. Perhaps you can't afford that, so be sensible and say, is there a local Starbucks around or something where they can all sit? Sorry, am I allowed to name?
Yeah, no, that's good. We've already Starbucks several times in the show anyway. Jen's in LA, having an Earl Grey tea in Starbucks.
Well done, Jen. So, you know, and just be, you know, maybe politely warn the manager, you're going to have an influx around 2 o'clock next Thursday because we're running a casting, do you mind? But they will be buying stuff. Maybe consider putting, you know, 20 quid down just to sort of say, you know, buy them some coffees. If you have 20 quid, you might not. And then have a couple of people who don't mind running back and forth to sort of, you know, friends or family or, you know, whoever wants to help you with the project. So running back and forth and bringing the actors in and out because it'll move more, it'll flow better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And you do want a camera. Really, I think you want a camera. Cameras are so cheap these days. It's, you know.
Yeah. And have people say their name because, you know, by the end of the day, everything's blurred. You know, you can't remember 50 faces.
Their name and their agent right away. And,
right.
Yeah.
And how do you know when you're looking at the right person? I know that's a kind of crazy question because outside of an audition, you kind of think...
How do I know or how do you know?
Well, I don't
haven't
know.
Always agreed.
I don't know. But, you know, it's like in movies, you know, people fall in love, they see each other across the room, it's magical. Sometimes that doesn't quite happen.
No.
Sometimes you're a married woman.
No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Sometimes that doesn't happen in a casting session, though. You don't go, wow, look at that person.
I think if you're not going, wow, look at that person, that's not the person. Actually, to be honest, if you've given them every opportunity and really tried and something's, I don't know, I really believe that you should consider, if there's something about them you're not sure about, that's fine, because maybe you were off in your actual interviewing technique. I doubt it in your case, but seriously, you might have been off or something might not have been right at the moment. So maybe give them a second chance. But haven't you always known when it's a person, usually?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, from my perspective, is that often you go into an audition and the first, second or third person really wows you and you think, wow, we found the solution, you know, we found the right person. And by number 100, you realise, actually, there's a lot of averageness in that. We're just not used to being around high emotion. I mean, as a filmmaker, you write it and you imagine it in your head, but when it's presented to you right in front of you and somebody has this powerful emotional reaction to your words, that's really quite... not intimidating. It's very real. It's
validating as well, which is dangerous. And you bring up a very good point, because a new filmmaker will just be so grateful that these actors turned up to the audition. They came, you know. So yeah, I suppose you have to be very selective as well. And so if you're very new to it, there are a lot of dangers. You know, you're grateful they're there. You're grateful that it seems like your project might actually go ahead, and you have to be quite selective. And I still say trust your own instinct. At the end of the day, you know, don't ask your Uncle Frank and your grandfather and your nephew, do you think this is a good actor? I mean, it's okay to have that. But I think when you're new, you have to learn to trust your instincts first, especially on the actors and the talent.
And is it okay to ask actors for callbacks? And at what point are you really, you know, behaving badly? And what's the etiquette there? Because you've met someone, you like them, your whole project's going to roll on them. surely you can't just offer them the part straight away. Maybe you need them to come back. Maybe you need a selection of 3.
I agree. I think, and also all manner of things can happen. The money can be held up. That you might lose locations. You might, for your first principal photography, day of principal photography. So, yeah, you have to have a lot of backups, and that's true. But ask me the question again, and I'll answer it better.
How many callbacks is appropriate before you're either not doing enough or you're doing too many?
Because some agents make you pay for callbacks, or
Right.
for so it becomes a problem if so you have to actually. I would say that even when you're doing an audition, also you have to get the actors to give their name, their number, the emails, as much information, their sizes, their height, whatever, for the wardrobe people, on that piece of paper, so that you tick that off right away, so you don't have to worry about it. At the same time, you have a way of getting in touch with them. There's nothing to say that you can't put on that, are you amenable to coming back to 3 to 5 castings? Should it be recalls? Should it be necessary? And get them to say it. And you've planted the idea in their head already that this might be a thing, and then they won't go running necessarily back to their agent crying.
Right, okay. And how do actors respond to someone like you? Do they want to create relationships with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They it's difficult because I started out as an actor, and it's funny that the actors want very often. I've made mistakes in the past thinking people were really good friends, and they weren't. They were being sensible and running good business. So I've learned to sort of sift my friendships a little bit better. So I guess from my perspective, it's very difficult having somebody on the other side of the table who really wants something from you all the time.
Right.
And you must feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
People want
absolutely.
jobs, they want this, they want that. So I think actors should be aware of that as well, that actors should know that, consider the other side of the table, that they're human beings as well. And,
Yeah.